May 13th, Mother's Day in Equestria. It was one of the more secluded holidays, as families would get together and honor their mother. Unlike Hearthwarming Eve or Nightmare Night, it wasn't a community event. It was a family event. And sometimes the ponies needed that. A little time to celebrate away from the community. The ponies gathered in houses and had large meals. Fillies did all the chores that their mom would usually do, cleaning the house and cooking breakfast for the families. And of course, the father would have to help unless they wanted everything to catch fire. Many of the mothers spent the day relaxing or spending a day off in a spa. Some of them went out with their families to be together in a picnic or a restaurant meal. They received hoof-made cards from their children and gifts from the older ponies. It was a special day indeed, and it was no different for the ponies in Ponyville. Applejack trotted down a long dirt path. The sun was blocked out by some clouds, but the Pegasi would have it cleared soon. It was warm out. Not too hot, not too cold. Large trees stood to the sides of the trail, casting a shade on it when the sun came out. Pegasi moved the clouds around the sky, opening up holes for the sun to shine through. And then they went straight back to celebrating with their mothers. Applejack looked up and saw her destination. She slowly blinked once before resuming her trot. She couldn't help but think about where all her friends were. Twilight was out in Canterlot with her parents. They were inside the royal castle, having a large feast full of the best daisies and hay grown in Equestria. Shining Armor's position on the royal guard and Twilight's affiliation with Princess Celestia granted them access to the large dining hall. Ponies wearing chef hats trotted in and out of the room, carrying silver plates with a variety of food on them. Twilight's mother sat at the head of the table. Each member of the family spoke of her, saying how much they loved her and the most memorable moments they had had with her. Twilight's father had an especially large amount to say about her. After the wonderful meal, they would all go out into Canterlot and trot around for a while, allowing Twilight's mother to buy whatever she pleased. They planned to end the day on top of a mountain, looking up at the stars as a family. Shining Armor had taken an entire day off of the royal guard for the events, appointing another stallion to take his position for the day. Rarity hadn't even went from Ponyville. Her parents had come to visit her in the boutique. As if it weren't obvious before they had gotten there, Rarity surprised her mother with an expensive trip to the spa. Rarity would be coming with her, of course. Sweetie Belle and her father stayed at the house, spending the day cooking a wonderful meal, or learning how to cook a wonderful meal. Sweetie Belle knew nothing about cooking, and neither did her father, so they spent half the day burning every single type of food they could find, and the other half using a cookbook to teach them exactly what to do. When Rarity and her mother came back from a relaxing day at the spa, a delicious dinner would be waiting on the table. That was, of course, if Sweetie Belle and her father didn't eat it all first. Pinkie Pie had gone back to the rock farm to meet up with her parents. Ever since she had earned her cutie mark, her parents had lightened up and weren't the strict farm ponies that she grew up with. They had even converted the rock farm to an actual farm where crops grew and the dirt wasn't covered in gray rocks. Since they were just outside of Ponyville, they had plenty of room for a picnic. Taking some of the freshly grown crops, Pinkie's sisters packed a basket of vegetables and the family headed out to enjoy a picnic in the sunlight. They enjoyed memories of the rock farm and how much their mother had changed since those days. Rainbow Dash was off in Lost Pegasus, where her parents lived. She didn't see them very often, but when she did, it was always a fun time. Rainbow's mother shared her love of flying.
Not so much stunts, however. Unlike most mothers, she preferred to go flying with Rainbow Dash rather than go to the spa or have a picnic. They both despise spas, and having their hoofs touched, flying through the sky was the only activity that they both could enjoy together. Afterwards, they planned to go back and have a family dinner where Rainbow Dash would present the gift she got to her mother. Fluttershy was visiting her mother outside of Ponyville. She didn't really talk about her parents or give any information about them. They were a shy family and preferred nature over other ponies. With a basket full of fresh food, they set out to have a picnic near a tree, where Fluttershy made friends with all the birds and the bunnies. Her mother joined her, playing with the bunnies and the birds. Fluttershy and her mother shared a love of animals, and they felt at home around them. Underneath the shade of the tree, they ate food and talked, remembering when they used to live in Cloudsdale, and when Fluttershy was just a filly. Fluttershy's mom pushed her to be her best at flying, and it was only her that kept her going to flight school. Once Fluttershy found the ground, her parents had to move to the ground too. After all the food, Fluttershy gave her mother a hug, and they trotted back to the house to enjoy the rest of the day. Applejack passed the fence, the dirt road coming to an end. The sun was still high up in the sky, shining down on her. Looking up into the sky, Applejack removed her hat and held it by her heart. She looked down at the stone, gray and cracked. It was worn down, the etching illegible after being eroded by rain and snow. Applejack laid down on the ground, placing the hat in front of the stone. She bowed her head and felt her eyes start to water up. Even though the words couldn't be made out, she knew what it said. Every Mother's Day, Applejack would visit the grave. She didn't want to stay home and not celebrate the holiday. It would make her even sadder. The only memories Applejack had of her mother were whatever she could remember from when she was a filly. Applejack remembered the one Mother's Day she was able to celebrate with her mother around, embracing her mother and spending the entire day with her, bucking apples and making delicious treats for the entire apple family to enjoy. Sitting in front of the grave always brought back memories. Applejack refused to cry. Crying wouldn't do any good for her mother. Mother's Day was a day to celebrate, not to mourn. And Applejack knew that. She came to the grave not to grieve, but to remember. The memories that Applejack's mother left with her were all she needed. The influence she had was even greater. Applejack remembered her mother yelling at her, but always for a good cause. Whenever Applejack was scared or sad, her mother would comfort her. In the time that Applejack knew her mother, she had engraved memories into Applejack's mind that she could never forget. The physical form may have not been there, but the memories were. Applejack took a deep breath. As long as she never forgot the memories, her mother would always live on. Applejack looked up at the sky, as she always did. Usually when she did so, it would be because she was hopelessly searching for her mother in the sky, but this time was different. She knew her mother was a filly and loved her. And now that it was Mother's Day, Applejack could celebrate how great of a mother she was when she was around. Granny Smith would surely have stories of her as a filly. In the years before, Applejack didn't want to hear anything about her mother on Mother's Day. She just wanted to go to the grave, mourn, and not be reminded of the rest of the day. Applejack stared at the gravestone and took in another deep breath. Her mother was still alive, and Applejack knew it. The memories kept her alive. There was no reason to mourn about the loss. She had an uncontrollable smile on her face as tears formed in her eyes, but she refused to cry. She blinked a few times to get rid of the tears. Applejack put a hoof on the tombstone and closed her eyes. The only memory she had played through her head. There was no bringing her back, and Applejack knew she couldn't. But her mother wouldn't want her to spend Mother's Day laying near a grave in mourning. Applejack knew that her mom loved her as a filly, and wherever she was now, Applejack knew that her mom still loved her. The few memories that she had of her mother played through her head. She kept her eyes closed, allowing her mind to drift off and reminisce. Applejack! Sunlight rushed into her pupils as her eyes shut open. Applejack lifted her head off the ground and turned, looking for the voice that called her name. A tall pony came into view. Applejack broke out into a wide grin and let out a high-pitched squeal. She galloped towards the pony as fast as her short legs could take her. Within a moment, Applejack leapt into the air and embraced the pony, her hoofs barely touching on the other side of the pony's neck. They held their embrace for a short while. When Applejack finally let go, she dropped to the ground. Without knowing why, she took a quick glance at the field behind her. It was empty. She then turned back and gazed into the pony's eyes. "Hello, Applejack," said the pony. "Hello, Mom." "Hey, every pony, it's Lotus Moon, obviously. This was a really good story, and if you're curious, this story was written long before The Perfect Pair was likely ever a thought to be made into an episode. So, of course, at this point in time for this story, we had no name or even appearance for Applejack's mom. But honestly, even with the episode of Perfect Pair having aired, the story is still quite a somber one. And it kind of hits close to home for me. I mean, I still have my mother, but I recently lost my grandmother to the coronavirus. I mean, she was already sick before we admitted her to the hospital, and she was quite a stubborn woman, so she pretty much fought tooth and nail to not go at all. But still, the loss is there, and Mother's Day right now for me is quite a somber one, as it is the first without her. It's hard for me and my family, but with all the good memories that we share of her, it will get easier with time. And of course, we will become stronger in the end. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mother figures out there. Support me on Patreon and Ko-fi. Links in the description. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, every pony.